everybody. I'm Chad Eckert. You can follow me on Twitter at Idone Realty. You can follow Joe Idone at Tour Picks and Preferred Lines Podcast on Twitter at Preferred Lines. Cheers to another podcast.
We're back. What up, man?
It's great to be back, but I wish we were back with a 100-to-1 ticket that we could cash.
That would have been nice, but we might have to hang it up after that one. We might have retired, but all things done.
Sweat.
Yeah, it was a good sweat. I had armor too, man. So I had the final pairing, which was fun. Look, we both kind of knew how this story was going to end the whole time.
I contemplated throwing $600 on Bryson Sunday morning.
Yeah, it's not worth it though. Congrats to anyone who hit Bryson. Great. Look, I am happy for him, right? He caught a lot of shit this week that I thought was somewhat undeserved. I like when guys work harder than other guys and it pays off. And he took the last 3 months and outworked everyone on tour. So he deserved it. And to be top 10 basically every week and not let that fatigue set in on a Sunday with the pressure mounting with these guys on your back, to do that 4 consecutive weeks was incredible. Good for him. Good on you, Bryson. We'll get him next time.
We don't typically go to the top of the board. We don't like the top priced guy. This happens to be the 4th time this season that the top priced guy, the betting favorite, has come through. Our guy, My guy on Twitter, Chi-Town Mo at Bears3423, a decent follow for some stats on PGA stuff. He tweeted out JT at CJ Cup 6.5-1, Rory WGC HSBC was 6-1, and Hovland won the Puerto Rico at 12-1 as the favorite, and then now Bryson. So he's a 4th guy. I mean, JT, Rory, Hovland, Bryson. It's like you almost can't bet against them, but at the same time, I'm not a top price guy.
No. I'm not. We're not lining up to bet 6.5-1 or even 2-1 guys coming in on Sunday. If they win, they win. But look, I think that if they replay that final round 10 times, Wolf gets there a couple of those times. Probably 3 out of 10. I think he gets that done going in with a 3-stroke lead. So I'll take my chances rolling with the 110 ticket there than rolling with 6-1 or 2-1 on a guy who we knew it was going to happen. It still did get a little bit fun down the stretch when Bryson sort of chipped through the fairway into the rocks, and they're like, could Wolf have an eagle op coming up? So it wasn't dead until it was fully over. But yeah, my mentions were kind of blowing up there with people like, you should have hedged, but it is what it is.
Well, it's not like Wolf lost. Bryson definitely won that.
Mm-hmm.
But enough about last week. Who cares about last week? Let's get on to this week.
Let's keep it moving.
We have a front 9 guest.
Yeah, so this week, very exciting stuff. We talked to Josh Perry, Action Network, works it with Golf Bet and the PGA Tour partnership. So very fun to talk to him. Let's hit it.
This week's front 9 guest is a man who's dished out winners on all golf tours over the last, 10 years or so. He now covers golf for the Action Network. A newly launched Golf Bet partnership with PGA Tour. Pretty cool. Now on the tee, Josh Perry at Joshua Perry 22 on Twitter. Go follow him there. What up, Josh? Thanks for joining.
Yeah, glad to be here, guys.
All right. Well, thank you, Josh, for coming on. Quick little sort of rundown here. Chad and I are going to kind of rapid fire questions at you, one after another. We'll go back and forth, whatever pops into your head. Feel free to say. We don't censor anything. So whatever, it doesn't matter, man. Let it fly.
Sounds good.
All right, buddy. Let it rip, Chad.
Okay, my first question, I'm going to start off with a story of glory. Hashtag mega profit win. Have you ever had it? Who was it? Where was it? What's your longest odds you've ever hit?
Keith Mitchell probably is the longest at the Honda. He was 220. It's a nice little win there. I think a few people were on him. Just kind of one of those shifts where his odds were really bad because he was playing on Pro out west, and you get an East Coast guy, Southeast, flipping on Bermuda, and occasionally you get lucky if the ball strikes there.
You know, my buddy Ryan wanted me to ask you, but I know that you like to sort of dabble in some of these other tours. Do you find many of these other sort of more obscure tours out there are more exploitable in terms of betting than the PGA Tour?
Yeah, if you can make money on the PGA Tour, you can probably make money anywhere else. It's just digging in for the numbers and finding things, because nowhere else outside of maybe the Euro Tour is going to have the real hardcore data, the strokes gained stuff. So you're just looking at basic numbers of driving distance, accuracy, greens and reg, putting. It's really, really basic stuff. So the books are more likely to make mistakes that are, they're just not as in tune with the form, things like that.
Cool.
So then are you doing multiple betting cards per week, per tournament, per field, per what, gender? Are you doing LPGA?
Yeah, I'll bet every single tour that we get odds for. And whatever they're giving me. So this week we'll have PGA, Euro, Korn Ferry, usually the Korean LPGA too.
So then what does the card look like? Are you going top guy, middle guy, low guy? Do you get 6 per tournament, or what? How do you decide?
It depends on what I want to bet. Try to keep it around a similar units thrown out there. Try to keep it around the same amount. And if I like somebody at the top, then I cut out the bottom. If I don't like anybody at the top, I'll toss in more at the bottom. It's more balanced that way. And then I kind of have to keep it balanced across all the tours. Can't get too heavy in any one spot, because after a few years of doing it across all the tours, I found that I'm not really better at any of the tours. It's really just kind of luck which one hits. So I used to have it more PGA and more Euro just because there was more stats there, and I figured I would do better at it because I had more info on it. But really, it's not the case at all. Like this year, it's been like Korn Ferry and Korean LPGA and Ladies European Tour that's been the better ones.
When you take kind of an individual tournament and look at it, if you were to give advice to a newbie who's never really bet golf before on how to sort of allocate their bankroll within that one tournament, are you going to steer mostly toward outrights or a good percentage on matchups, top 10s? How do you kind of divide that up per week?
My biggest bets are usually top 20s, and then I'll play matchups in the middle of the tournament. I don't really do too much beforehand. I like finding guys who are riding hot putters and ball striking hasn't been there. Kind of the standard thing that people are expecting with the putter regression. Ball striking is usually pretty stable, round to round compared to the putter. So you're just finding that regression, hopefully, and capitalizing on whoever they're matched up against.
So then would you say you're a ride hot form guy over like the last couple weeks? Do you go 50 rounds, 12 rounds? Do you care about that? Do you look at that?
I'll kind of I try to balance that out too. So you'll see like, oh, this week it was course history guy. Oh, this week it's hot form guy. I try to find one or two of each potentially. Because I don't think either of them are really more important than the other. Again, everything with me is kind of a balance thing, and you'll kind of see that across the board, regardless of how I'm doing it. It's all about a balance situation.
Do you ever bet the top of the board, like the top 1, 2, 3 guys, say, on the board for a week, or is there really
were
no
you on
value
Bryson?
either?
No,
I wasn't.
If Bryson wins, if the 7-1 guy wins, I'm missing it.
That's how I feel.
If I really like it, and then there's something else on another tour I really like a lot of people hit the Zalatoris Bryson double. Like if there's something like that I really like, then I'll gamble with it. That's usually more like a fall swing season thing where I'm getting a lot of other weird tours in the PGA, just have a bunch of random stuff going on. So I'll double with Europe because usually it's a really weak field with a couple top guys. It'll be like Trail Hatton will be out there by himself or something like that. And you can usually get it 15-1 or something. You can throw it in there with some other random tours, but like over in Japan. But yeah, mostly it's I steer clear of the tops. Try not to dip under 20 for sure, but usually my card starts like 30, 40. And go there, because I mean, if you're doing what I do and it's like 4 tours a week, then you can't be betting 15-1 here and 15-1 there, 15-1 there. Otherwise, you got to hit a winner every single week, and that's so hard to do. Like, if I'm hitting a winner a month somewhere, I'm usually fine.
I'm curious because I'm getting into this matchup thing, and I think that's where you can exploit the books more than a future or outright. Do you have criteria for what you look for in a matchup? Are you strictly looking at the stats, or do you look at their juice? Do you look at where they're teeing off? I mean, is it going into just what they've done 2 days prior in round 3, or do you look at the previous day? How does this all come together?
Usually it's an overriding thing. I'm not bouncing round to round where it's like, oh, a guy hit it really good today and then he was bad yesterday, so he'll bounce back, or vice versa. A guy putted bad and he putted really well, so he'll putt bad again. It's kind of like an over a 2 to 3 day span where it's like good ball striking, bad putting, good ball striking, bad putting, good ball striking, bad putting. And it's not the guys that you're thinking of that always do it, like the Ben Ans, Keegan Bradley's, those type of guys, because they're going to do it every single time. it's guys who are normally decent putters, normally decent ball strikers, but for whatever reason this week they're not putting well, and vice versa. It's the guys who are bad ball striking, good putting, bad ball striking, good putting, bad ball striking, good putting.
But Josh, what if they're minus 200 to win? Is that worth doing still, or do you kind of not?
I did it. I wouldn't recommend it because I did it and lost with Webb. It was everything lined up. Webb versus Kirk.
Yeah.
I set the line in my mind at like 250. Like that was what I was thinking it was going to be. That was what I had, and I threw minus 200 out there. I was like, oh, that's fine. I'll bet that lost. But I mean, I was looking at the numbers later. Like you got matchups where it's like Hideki versus Donald, and he was like minus 350. So like the odds were where I wanted them, and it's lost. But that's what's going to happen. A minus 200 favorite. I mean, in theory, you're supposed to lose that one on 3 times and break even. So that was just one of those bad ones. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing that because usually in golf, the favorites don't really do too well. I ran into some trouble too doing like 3 balls for the favorites. It's like, oh, Colin Morikawa against 2 guys who you should obviously beat. And the other people. So.
All right, so we had a couple people on Twitter basically in a roundabout way ask the exact same question. Does the PGA Tour or the USGA or the RNA or whatever you want to call it, do they got to do something about, the Bryson DeChambeau effect? Do they need to roll back the balls? Do they need to make the course longer? Do they need to use adjusted clubs? What are they going to do about Bryson?
Honestly, I mean, as long as Bryson's like drawing attention, they're probably not going to do anything. Like good, bad, whatever they want, polarizing viewpoints to draw eyes. Like that's what their whole goal is, I would assume. But I mean, you can always grow out the rough. You can tighten fairways. I mean, people are going to watch Bryson. They're talking about Bryson. Bryson's going to draw like more mainstream interest because of what he's doing. So
yeah, I mean, even this last week, you had Armour, you had Kisner, you had Hadwin up there too, who are not long hitters. So to me, it's just anyone can compete, right?
Yeah, it's just a week-to-week thing. I mean, who knows? On half these courses happen.
I think Bryson should be forced to play with PXG or Hamna clubs.
Yeah, seems to be a bit of a disadvantage.
Right. Let's talk about the Workday, where we are here this week, as in Ohio. And I kind of like narratives. It's fun. I like to play for fun. Do you consider local narratives, like where the guy went to college? If he went to college at Cincinnati, does it matter to you? Are you a narrative guy?
I think it usually hurts more on the PGA Tour because people know it. Like everyone's aware of where their home courses are. So like they get extra bet, they get bet down. I think it actually helps more like a Corn Ferry situation where you get regional stuff where just people don't know where you guys are from. They're just bet based on where their form is. So you can bounce around and all of a sudden they've been missing cuts West Coast and they go back east and it's home again and they're fine and their odds are way bad. But yeah, on the PGA Tour, not as much because again, like I said, everyone knows where these guys are from. It's kind of baked in there. It can help, but I mean, just as often we see it hurt based on like different course setups, things like that from what they usually play at. So who knows?
Or their family is bothering them, tickets or whatever. They're sleeping at home and their kids waking them up.
Yeah, it's not always a good thing to be at home if you want to go play golf.
All right, so we get a little break from Godzilla this week. What type of player does this lend itself to?
I mean, historically, it's been guys that are like good total drivers, a good combination of the accuracy and the distance there. But I mean, who knows? Kind of this week if they'll change anything up. But like historically, we've seen like Rose play well, and Matsuyama play well, and Fowler play well, and they're good off the tee. But it's not like those are the bombers up there. They're just good guys, and then they hit a lot of greens. And if the putter actually works that week, then they're fine. But I mean, this week it's supposed to be a little bit different. Setups, different pins potentially if they're going to play it back to back like they are with the Memorial next week. Different green speeds potentially, different rough lengths potentially. So this week it's going to be tough to tell because it's not necessarily the Memorial tournament that they're used to seeing. It could be a little bit different, but again, that's just all a guessing game. We're going to have to kind of wait and see as people kind of get out on the course with practice rounds and stuff. What
about a fatigue? Is it going to factor in for the guys that have now played 5 weeks in a row or have played a lot over the last few weeks?
Potentially. And especially in the summer months when it gets a lot hotter and things like that, can kind of drain you, especially with a lot of these places they don't normally go where it's like 90 degrees now. But again, a lot of these guys have also had 4 months of rest, so they're probably ready to go. So, and guys like Sung J M, who knows, he plays every week anyway. There's a few guys out there that do that. So I don't really look at it right now. I don't think it's to that point where it's completely worn them out yet.
You kind of touched on it a little bit a second ago, but unprecedented circumstances this week with the same course back-to-back weeks. I know they're saying that they're going to try to, have it play much different, but can you really change up a course that much in 4 days?
All they can really do is pretty much like rough lengths and green speeds, because you got to figure they already know what the pin locations will be. They've been out there practicing on things like that, so they're going to have a generic idea of what they do there. The green speed thing can really mess them up if they do it drastically. Like 1 week it's slow and then they go lightning fast, because usually the Memorial has some pretty fast greens. So if they slow them to a crawl this week, that would mess up a lot of guys who are used to the faster greens and could take a couple rounds to adjust. And then if you just let the rough grow, because as we kind of saw this week at Rocket Mortgage, like they didn't really do much with the rough, and scoring was really good early, and it kind of, the week got along, it kind of got a little tougher. And we saw on Sunday there was a lot more bogeys out there. You had to be a little bit more precise as the course bakes out. And if they just let it go they kind of taper it out like they did at Rocket Mortgage, and then they just throw Memorial back out there and do it again, and you can see it get a lot more difficult over a 2 week span.
Well, so who do you trust this week then? Can you trust Jason Day?
Probably never, but I don't know. You just kind of look at the guys at the top there. They've all had some relative success. I mean, Thomas has had a couple good rounds. People seem to like Brooks rounding into form. I don't really know who my guy is, because I don't really bet those guys. Hideki's obviously of interest. He played well last week. He's played well here a lot. Again, those odds are under 21, so I'm not going to go there. At this point, it's really tough at that top of the board, because the guys we like are not playing that well to justify betting those numbers for the most part. I mean, you might want to start out, if you're looking like a buy low situation, like maybe Colin Morikawa, we missed a cut, we're all off, and now he's back in the 30 to 1 range instead of 20, 25 to 1, like that could be his spot where you start the card. And his game technically should be fine here. Again, he's not really necessarily a bomber, but he hits it far enough, hits a lot of fairways, and then he hits a lot of greens and never makes putts, and that kind of sounds like a deck he played well.
Right.
Here.
Another guy kind of like Jason Day, who has a little bit of a history at Muirfield, been all over the place to start the season. What about Ricky?
Ricky, I mean, he at least played well last week, so that's going for him. He hadn't shown anything at all. Again, I never really bet Ricky. I try to avoid him, just because his odds, he's always one of the most popular.
Just because of the popularity, you think?
It drives him down. Like his talent doesn't match his win rate, or his talent, or his odds don't match his talent and his win rate. You'd like him to be good, but he only wins once every 2 years, so you can't be betting him at 30 to 1 when he wins once every 56 in tournaments. So it's really tough. You can try to throw a dart once in a while, like in Phoenix or something like that, maybe even here. But
this week, let's go. I'm doing it. I'm on.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. We'll see. Give us a sleeper, Josh, a long shot guy, or maybe someone you like as a top 10 bet. Anything you like this week?
Further down.
Have you seen it yet? Have you looked at it? Have you even been able to study? It's 4 o'clock.
Yeah, further down, probably the guy will be back in. I added him live this week. It didn't really work out, but Henrik Norlander is the best ball striker in the field. He's 250 to 1 right now, so top 20 range. He'll probably be getting around 7, 8 to 1. That would be something I'd look at. He hit the ball super well, finds a lot of fairways, finds a lot of greens. Putting, just like everybody else, seems to be really streaky at times. Doesn't really have much of a history here, but then again, maybe that helps him because this is the first time he's seen the course, so this is just a usual course how he sees it. He doesn't have these Memorial type images in his head where things change up. He's at a disadvantage.
Cool. All right, last question before we let you get out of here. Preferred play this week. Give us your pick to win. One guy to win. I'd probably just go with Brooks just based on talent where the game's at. I don't think anybody else is really playing better than him in this field, and given the odds that he's not he probably should be the favorite this week essentially, and he's not, so that'd be where I'd put him. Love it.
I'm into that. Let's go. We're a pro Brooks podcast here at the Preferred Lines. Joshua Perry 22 on Twitter. Go follow him there and get his picks. Probably have a better idea of who to pick once he gets more information into his brain. So check it out. When do you tweet your card typically?
Everything usually goes out Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on when tournaments start. Korea is usually that Wednesday night, so we try to get out earlier. But yeah, we'll have everything up there. We'll write up some PGA and some European Tour for Action Network golf bet this week. Follow along there. Download the Action Network app too. I'll have all my picks on there. You can you can track your outrights, you can track your matchups, you can track your top 5s, top 10s, top 20s. Now we added that after the hiatus, so that's all brand new. And then
Exactly. You don't even need to be from a legal state. You could be from Minnesota, where it's illegal to bet on sports, so you can go get this app and you can do all those things.
Yep, you can track everything. It's not a betting app; it's just tracking stuff, and then it obviously has all of our content as well. There's some subscription services as well, but for golf itself, with the partnership with GolfBet and PGA Tour, everything's free on there, so you can read all my stuff.
Lovely. Thanks for joining us. Say hello to Darren Ravel for us.
Will do. I don't think he knows who I am, but I'll pass it along.
That was another.
All right,
question.
Josh. See you, man. Thanks.
All right,
Yep,
thanks,
we'll
dude. Take it easy.
Dude, what a guy for coming on our little podcast.
Good stuff. How do we keep getting these guys?
Dude, you're the one that got him. I have no idea.
I know they're good guys for supporting us and coming on, and hopefully we cross over to some audiences with them.
Right. Now, shall we make the turn and crack open the board for what is the Workday Charity Open? I mean, Memorial Part 2 or Part 1 of 2 or Junior Memorial? I don't know. This is like the JV warm-up for next week's real Memorial. It's still at Muirfield, well-known place, but they're going to make it differently like we spoke about to Josh. Let's look at the top of the board this week. There's still a juicy field, the Junior Memorial, and it's going to be filled with juicy names, and they're here. It's Justin Thomas at the top at 12-1. Under 20-1, you have JT, Brooks, Rahm, Cantlay. They're at 14-1 or so, depending on where you're looking. Decky's also under 20, 16 on a book that I've seen. Xander also under 20. Do you have any interest? Anyone here?
I have a little bit of interest in Brooks. I am tepid because he's taken a couple weeks off. I have kind of had to take that he has said himself he plays his best on his second week returning to action. I'm not sure what that whole situation with, obviously his caddy testing positive for COVID, but what that meant for him in the week or so after that. Was he basically quarantined? Was he going to the course? We saw that, he had some nice 4th of July plans on Instagram. So it's just, I'm worried about it. I feel like next week may be the spot for it.
Right.
But I don't want to miss it.
Right.
I don't want to miss it.
I'm not getting off of Brooks knowing that he was forced into this COVID withdrawal. It wasn't like he wanted to, and he wasn't ever sick. It was his caddy, or his caddy was asymptomatic. I don't even know. We wanted him. We were going to go all in on him at Travelers 2 weeks ago, and there he was, ruined. So what happened? Well, we went on DJ, and DJ won. His guy won the tournament that he had to get out of. So he takes a week off. Guess what happens? His other guy that he doesn't really like, Bryson, he ends up winning. So he's got DJ and Bryson back-to-back in his face. I think he's motivated. I think it's better to probably take him next week. I'm not going to lie, but I don't know. I don't think he'll be 16-1 next week if he shows up this week. I think you got to get him now at 16-1 with a weaker field, motivated, thinking about taking him now, soft conditions. Maybe he just likes it slower and getting warmed up. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. He's going to feast on the par fives, and I'm going to get my biggest bet on Brooks. Can't rest on him this week. Take him.
Okay. I don't blame you one bit there. I see all the things that you see and how his game is sort of trending in this direction, right? We'll see. We'll see. With all these guys in this range, if I had to pick one, which I still am kind of narrowing that down, if I'm going to pick one under 20, it's definitely 100% Brooks.
Okay. The second pick in the draft, under 20-1, I'd probably say Cantlay at 14-1 if you wanted to try that out. Maybe that's a DraftKings play. I don't know. But let's go to the names. There's 3 of them in the 20 range. You got Hovland at 22. Again, these numbers may have changed. I don't know. They're all relatively the same places. But you can shop around. You can get maybe a better number or whatever. But Hovland's here at 22. You got Rose 25 and Fowler 28. Seems kind of interesting, these numbers on these guys, especially the way that Rose has played 25-1. It seems like a fair number. Maybe it's something to go for. But we know Rose, he prefers to play at bigger spots, so maybe you take him next week as well, and he's using this as a warm-up back to getting his mojo going again. I don't know. What do you think in this range?
Yeah, Justin Rose has been playing really well. He rated out really well for me when I ran sort of the Fantasy National stat model. I'm not going to bet him here, so I'm really between, because I'm somewhat leaning Brooks at like 15, 16 to 1. For me, it's coming down to, and I haven't made this decision yet, but it's coming down to either I take Brooks or I take two guys at double the number, which is like 33,
Okay.
which those guys pretty much come down to Ricky, Patrick Reed, Colin Morikawa. So do I take, I'm between taking two of those guys or taking Brooks, and I still haven't quite made that decision yet. Have you gone anywhere in this range?
Dude, I'm going back to our lucky number 28. My son was born on the 28th of October, and I like the number 28, and you can get Ricky Utaka Fowler 28 to 1. I'm in. I've seen enough. And actually, I've grabbed him at the PGA Championship at 33 to 1 too, because I'm gearing up. I'm gonna see good performance. I saw it last week. I see it this week from Fowler, and then you're gonna get a number at the PGA that's gonna be less than 33, because we love Ricky. Dude, Josh told us his number is inflated because the public likes him. I don't care. I'm gonna grab it this week at 28 to 1. I think he effed around, wasted some time with that stupid putting grip that he ditched last week and finished T12. But guess what? He wasn't even putting all that great last week. I think it was more just a confidence thing. I got rid of that stupid thing. Now I'm not less worried about that. I'm going to focus everything a little more. Dude, since the Masters, the dude has sucked, okay? He's missed 6 missed cuts, and he's had only 5 top 10s. So, 5 top 10s and 6 missed cuts. I don't know. He was married in October. We know this happens to people. They get married and they stop grinding as hard. Maybe he's a little bit of shifting his focus. The quarantine has shifted him. Dude, I bet during the quarantine, he's like, I'm going to try out this putting thing, and it's going to see how this goes. And then he kind of ignored his approaches. And then, oh, shit, this isn't working for me. Oh, crap, I got to get – and then dialing it back in. We know Ricky is poised. This is our guy, kind of. So you're the Ricky fan club guy. Am I a fool for thinking 28 to 1 Ricky Fowler this week?
No, I'm considering it as well. The thing that still gives me pause for concern is it's not little things in his game that he's working with. He's tinkering with equipment. He's tinkering with his grip. He's tinkering with swing coaches. He had this new bronze chrome iron situation that were all like butter knives, even like a 9-iron. And I think he ditched those last week and went back to like some old clubs that he was using like 2 years ago. So it's a lot of variables besides just going out and playing golf, which I think normally is where he plays his best. So that's my pause for concern on Ricky.
Just the talent at 28 to 1. I'm gonna bank on historic talent, someone that we find they find it, and I want to be on it early. Here. Yeah, it does. Yeah, exactly. And this could be just simple for him to just start sniping. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Should we go to the middle of the range? Are you ready to talk about the 30s to 50s?
I got some action in the middle of the range.
This is your guys. Okay, we got Morikawa. He's back in the field, fresh off a miscut. He's 33 to 1, and so is Patrick Reed. You can get 40 to 1 on Neiman, Spieth, Kuchar, and him. Well, I got 33 on him because my book knows I want him, so they just fuck me, I guess. Anyway, you can get Neiman. So then Hadwin, Fitzpatrick, Leishman, Woodland. Again, that's certain books, certain numbers. But who are your names? Tell us.
All right, so I've got 3 guys here. I'll start number 1. I bet Joaquin Neiman. I've been on Neiman for a while. I just feel like he's really trending. He has a couple of good finishes here. His game is moving in the right direction, and his putting is generally his weakness, right? But he putts his best, and he's very open about this, on the quicker bent grass greens. Got his win at Greenbrier. Historically, if you look at his finish, he has pretty drastic splits depending on green surface. So I'm going to Neiman here. There have been, this course has shown guys have really kind of had that breakthrough win here in the past. You look at Hideki, Cantlay, Bryson, all sort of had that signature moment, kind of walking off the green and shaking Jack's hand and giving Barbara a hug. And I think he's almost there. So I think it's a good, fair number on him. Second guy I have.
Well, wait, before we leave Neiman.
Go ahead.
First of all, you said he's better on fast greens, bent greens or whatever. Do you think it'll be fast this week, even though they claim it's going to be faster next week? Are we worried about the green speed?
A little bit. See, it is a little bit of pause. It's going to be different.
Because should we just take Neiman next week?
maybe we should, but I don't want to miss out on this opportunity in what is probably a little bit of a weaker field. And I just feel like the number is justified based on how he's coming into the event, how he's been striking the ball incredibly well, his course history here, and just how everything sort of is aligning. It's just a, play for me here.
I'm on the young kids in this range.
You are?
I'm on
Okay.
him at 33, or I got him at 33. I guess you can get him at 40 somewhere. I got Neiman bet at 40. I did too. I just think that they see Wolf last week, and they say a 21-year-old fellow PGA Tour player that's just like me, he can do it. Why can't I contend? And they get this in their minds, and it helps as much as strokes gained statistics. We know we got ruined by whatever Wolf's approach numbers were. Around the green game was off.
Right.
Dude, you play golf. We play golf. Like, you find it, or you get motivated, or you just one thing can motivate you, and one thing can just lead to the next. That now you're
when it's really in finding it, you're really looking at the ball striking and approach. There's guys who find it in other ways that can't necessarily be relied on. You take, Josh talked a little bit about Chris Kirk, who had like multiple chip-ins last week. Can't really rely on that. Even Wolf was him draining 60-foot putts. You can't really rely on that. And his driving was wayward. His approaches were not what they needed to be on a Sunday. But yeah, there's parts in regards to ball striking and approach that when you find it, you see guys carry that on for a little bit of a run.
Well, I saw Wolf's number this week. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but
they slashed it in half. Yeah.
So
another guy I have sort of in this range, purely a numbers play here. But I took Gary Woodland at 55-1. It was my first bet of the day as soon as it opened up.
Wait a second. So you 55, that's bullshit because you can't even get that anywhere now. It's probably down to 40 or 30, so 33 somewhere. Don't you think?
I think it's still out there at 50, I believe. But I got the 55
because
this morning.
I'll
post the ticket if you don't believe me.
No, I'm just saying if the guys listening to this now on Wednesday, they're going to be like 55-1, go fuck yourself, because it's like people are going to bet it. So that's just part of it. You got to get in early on these numbers because everybody likes some of the same guys. Like Leishman, I've seen written up a couple places. I mean,
that's
you're going to get
if you
don't get them Monday.
The write-ups, when you start to see the write-ups, numbers are going to move. I think with the board this week, you're going to see some guys drift backwards as well, just how they price so many guys up in this range. But just looking and kind of assessing the field and ranking the players in my head, I had Gary at like the 9th or 10th best player in the field. And when I looked this morning, he was on the odds board. Doesn't have great course history.
Was he on the odds board? He was what?
He was 19th on the odds board versus I think he's about the 9th best player when I look at the guys. And he doesn't have great course history here, but he has course history, right? So he's played it 9 straight years. Maybe the rough being down, the greens slowed down a little bit, could help a guy like Woodland. We'll see. But the third guy that I got in this range, and this is where things get a little wacky with my card this week. Hold on a second, because I have a quote here that I want to read for you. So if you don't read if you don't read Steve Bamford's articles, my favorite part about them every week is the player quotes about the course. So wider fairways this week, undulating greens that are tricky and require a lot of creativity around them. Leading into this pick, and this is a quote from this guy. A couple of things specifically about this course. The greens are arguably tied for first or second only to Augusta National as far as speed and how pure they are consistently every year. I love putting on these greens where you have to use imagination, you have to play the ridges, and speed control is so vital.
Okay, so Spieth?
I'm taking Jordan Spieth.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
And I never, ever bet Jordan Spieth, but I'm doing it this week.
Cool.
And it sounds like a risky pick. And to me, even in my mind, I'm like, it's risky taking Spieth. But if you actually look, he's been pretty consistent. If you look back the last calendar year, he has 1 missed cut in the last year. That's going back through 18 events. 4 of those events, all on bent grass, he has top 10s in. Finished 7th here last year at a time when he was struggling. He gained 6.2 strokes tee to green, and it doesn't often gain strokes tee to green. 6.2 here last year, his single best performance of the year. loves the course, loves the greens. What better spot for Jordan Spieth to come back and make a splash? Look, his wedges, and you've seen this, have been pretty spot on. He struggled at the Travelers putting. He struggled at the Heritage putting. He didn't struggle with the Job putting, and he was arguably in contention leading into that Sunday. If he can have another good putting performance, we'll see. It's a risky pick, and I feel that because I never bet him, and we all know how he sort of creates this drama within golf Twitter. 45-1, he's on the card.
Dude, if he contends this weekend and plays next weekend, you know he's going to be down in those 15-20 range.
People like to bet him, even though people like to hate him.
Yes, so bet him this week at a number that's pretty solid. I mean, you can get a hedge if he ends up going off somewhere, maybe. Should we do a long shot talk?
Yeah, let's talk some long shots.
Okay, I got a
Who
lot
do
of love.
you got? You go first.
Well, I know we were conversing that we kind of are firing off on a few of the same names, and they're the same names that we've been in love with for a couple weeks now, and there's no reason to not bet a dude like Joel Damon at 80-1. So I like the 80-1 range. I got Joel there, I got HV3, and I got Corey Connors. So why not?
Okay.
Connors is a guy that's went to Kent State. You're an Ohio guy. Does that matter?
I'm a Kent State guy.
Are you?
Yeah, buddy.
Oh, good. Okay. The Golden Flashes.
Connors, Mac Hughes, Golden Flashes. Yeah, I chimed in with don't forget about Mac Hughes either.
I didn't even know he was in this tournament.
I actually did click Connors sort of right off the bat at 80. I now that I'm looking back on it, I'm like, he's so good ball striking, but he worries me a little bit around the greens. He tends to turn things into bogeys that should be pars around the greens in terms of easy chips, and you just can't make bogeys here. Speaking of
but
bogeys,
let's say he's done that. He's done doing that, and then he's gotten a little bit of experience, and he's already kind of been like, oh gosh, I can't do that.
Yeah,
especially this week. And then you do want to go into this range, Joe, because I think this is the range where these people have the mentality like, I got to get the win this week. If I'm not going to get it this week, I'm not getting it next week when Tiger's back. I'm going to just do what I can to focus this energy this week. So I think the 80 to 100, I like them. So, okay, 100-1. Jason Kokrak.
I have a guy at 80-1. I don't want to go off. Okay. I got a little take, but I took Ben on. Don't choke down your beer there,
dude.
But dude, he's got four top 25s here. It's just a gut. And he finished well last year. He lost in that playoff to Bryson, and he really shouldn't have lost in that playoff to Bryson. But it's Ben An. We all know. But I think
I saw Bryson's. I remember his putt.
Talking sort of down in this range, I think you've got a top 10, top 20 of these guys more so than the outrights, just because, look, we've seen where the winners have come from these past couple of weeks, with the exception of Berger, I think, who went off in the 50 to 60 range. It's coming from that upper to middle tier. So if you're taking these guys, you've got a top 10, top 20. I think he makes a good top 20 bet if you can get him around 4-1. The last 4 years, he's top 20 in every one of those years. So if you can get 4-1 on a guy to do it again, the slowing down the greens a little bit, will it help Ben on? I don't know. He's got the song. He's got things working for him.
Is in my dreams, it in my heart. Right? I don't even know. That guy's
I don't know.
great.
I got a feeling about Ben An. 80-1. Throw him on.
All right, I got Kokrak at 100-1. I got Poulter too at 100-1. Those are names that could win a tournament. And Kokrak's super due. And I want to be on the Kokrak when he wins at 100-1. Are you kidding me? So I'm getting that. And then I got 150-1 on Sammy Burns and Kyle Stanley.
All right. Here's what
I've seen something from Stanley. Enough.
Did you?
He was T2 once along the way. I think he was T2 with that Ann playoff. I'm not sure, but
yeah, he was. I had him in DraftKings last week, and he was a little disappointing. But
yep.
Okay, so here's who I got down in the sort of bomb range. Like I said, top 10, top 20. I took Russell Henley. If you look at sort of short term, and I'm talking last 12 rounds, approach, ball striking, it's basically since we've been back in the turn, he was ranked first and second. So it's there, right? He's got a win on a Jack Nicklaus designed course in PGA National. So you kind of have that sort of crossover there as well. Just playing well, 125-1. Another guy I got at 150-1 is I'm going back to Brendan Steele.
Okay.
Speaking of PGA National, in the Nicklaus course design, he finished really well there. Played awesome at the Travelers, where I had him like 225 to 1 a couple of weeks ago. He went off in the final group for me. Faded a little bit on Sunday, but still cashed a top 10 there. Going back to Steele, and you tweeted something out this morning. Bo Hoag. I don't know if it's Hoag or Hoag, but he's 750 to 1. I took him. He grew up, I think, 2 blocks from Jack Nicklaus's home. His father helped build Muirfield Village.
His grandpa. I think
you're a narrative guy.
I love the narrative. You think I'm
love
not using Bo Hoag on DK?
Oh, 750 to 1. Are you kidding me? I'm in.
My book doesn't even offer a Hoag bet.
If they put a top 10 on him at like 1 plus
50, you think?
Yeah, I think it should be. Well, it's usually around like 10%, right?
Yeah. Okay. This feels like the Neesmith the other week. Remember when Neesmith popped at Heritage?
He was like first round leader, right?
Yeah, he proposed to his girlfriend. Dude, first round leader, Bo Hoag. That's a decent, probably. I have no idea. What else do we need to talk about? We need to talk about maybe the fact that you should just consider looking at the outrights after round 1. Get an idea of what's happened. See how things are going.
Not a bad idea.
Event, since nobody knows if this event's going to have rough or no rough or fast greens or slow greens.
Yeah, very unprecedented circumstances. Same course, back-to-back weeks. It will be very interesting to see how they can change this up.
Yeah. So before we do our preferred plays, we want to give a disclaimer that, again, we are #not touts. Do not take our picks seriously. Do not take me saying I have sources of sources seriously. I apologize. I forgot that people might actually take this seriously because they don't know me or they don't even really realize that I'm actually joking, even though I did have a source, Cecil of a source, Bramlett, in his Twitter or his DMs of Instagram, whatever. Either way, I'm sorry, I forgot that people might take us seriously. So I'll be better on my own about doing things like that on Twitter because I'm sorry. Again, also, if you have a fucking gambling problems are a serious issue. So if you do have something like that and you're betting more money than you can lose, you need to seek help. This is not a joke. Do something about it if you're betting more money than you can lose, you fucking idiot. Right?
Call somebody.
Okay. My preferred play is that I'm going to put a lot of money on. No, you're making fun of me for betting $1. Okay, I have a 6-month-old and a 3.5-year-old and a wife, and I need to pay some bills. This is just for entertainment and for fun. And if I win $80 off of $1, that's a shit lot of money for me. That's like 4 weeks of play. Okay. Anyway, 16 to 1. I like Brooks Koepka. I like Ricky Fowler at 28. I like Im at 33. Neiman at 40. Connors at 80. Kokrak at 100. You? Who do you like?
All right, so just to recap what I got so far, Neiman 40, Spieth 45, Woodland 55. I got Benyon at 80. I got Henley at 125, Steele at 150, and Hoag at 750 to 1. And with the top of the board, like I said, I'm either going to do Brooks or I'm probably going to do a Ricky Reed combo.
Okay.
That's it.
Sweet. Okay, and there you go. We are doing this out of the goodness of our hearts. Again, we're not obligated to be here. Joe, how much money do we get paid to do this?
$0.
$0. So fuck
and
you
0
if you don't like this. I don't even care. Go to hell. But if you would, please review and subscribe or like or whatever. That'd be great. I don't know.
Yeah, review, subscribe, tell a friend. Join us next week. And we'll do it all over again.
Let's cash some winners. #make a profit. Good luck, Joe.
Peace.